How's everybody doing tonight? Uh, Running a little bit late, but I made it. Um, wasn't for sure how it was going to turn out, but we're here anyways. And it looks like there's a few of you already here waiting. Um, just to go over a few things, I spoke to YouTube because my channel was taking some pretty good hits on the views and stuff. And this is what they told me in a nutshell. I'm putting the links on the Facebook page that y'all are subscribed to, or some of you, to watch the videos. And if you watch the videos from there, they said you all don't have to sign in to Facebook to YouTube to be able to view the videos. And therefore, I'm not getting the likes that I need, and the views may not count like that. So they've told me now to put the thumbnail on my Facebook, make sure people log into YouTube to be able to view my videos. That way they can like it. I get the view hours, and then we get the algorithm. The likes are very, very important. So if y'all don't mind, when you come in or whatever, hit the like button. That's what puts us out there. And they say it, if you all miss 3 of my live shows, then you'll have to redo your account because they will stop notifying you. Weird things that they don't tell you guys. And I think it's crazy how they do it. Hey, Angela. But that's what they're up to. We got a guest tonight I'm going to be bringing on. Her name is Michele, and she's got some pretty good encounters and some things that's happened around her house. I thought was really interesting, and I wanted to bring her on to talk to her. Hey, Cynthia, and we're going to talk for a while, and of course we'll take questions as we can, and then at the end of the show we'll take questions. I believe Calvin's in here tonight doing the moderating for us. He's going to keep everything running smooth and keep all the troublemakers out, hopefully. And if they come in, Calvin will deal with them quickly. Good question. Coffee bar lady, that's a great question because that is what they brought up. Now, another weird thing is if you cannot catch the live, if you rewatch the live and you give it a like and then comment, it actually helps twice. So after this ends, if you all go back and then make a comment on it, it'll actually work twice, which is really, really weird. I don't know how that works, why it works like that, but that's how the analytics are set up, and that's how they do it. So don't ask me why they do it that way. That's just how they do it. And they said to have people, go in after your show, like it if they haven't already, and then leave a comment, and you get double help. So the likes are very important to put us out there as far as letting people know that we're on and live. Then the comments are what raises the algorithm to keep pushing the videos. And the likes show YouTube that y'all like the content that's been put out. But the guest we're bringing out tonight, she has some really interesting stories. And I'm going to go ahead and bring her in. We're 5 minutes past 7, and her name is Michele, and we're glad to have her tonight. I'm going to go ahead and she is going to remain anonymous as far as her picture, and that's just because of the stories and where she's at. A lot of people don't like to have all their information out there for security reasons, and I completely understand that. So, hello, Michele, and thank you for joining us.
Hello.
I was telling everybody that you had some what I thought were pretty cool encounters.
Well, they're different. It's been a process.
I think most everybody's are different. I don't think there's any one account that ends up being the same.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
what
uh,
what it makes it so interesting. That's how I kind of got started in this, and just actually I got started in the whole Bigfoot thing reading my Bible. Is how I got started in it.
I was talking the other night, and getting into the cryptid community and investigating it and stuff has actually brought me closer to God also as far as my studies. And
Yeah.
I think that's a big positive side to it. I want to thank Latricia. Thank you for being a new member. Sorry, guys. Um, but she's a new member to the channel. Sorry, that little dog barks at its own shadow. But thank you, Latricia. We appreciate your support and for joining and being a new member tonight. Uh, but yes, I do think that you'll have to excuse the background, guys. I apologize. You'll have to understand that the encounters are different. I think because maybe different regions. I'm not sure. What do y'all think? What do you think is the causes the different encounters? So you, Michelle, you saw one walking in the woods, correct?
Yes. I was now bear with me, people, because this is a little bit of the woo, okay? And I didn't want to go there because I just couldn't wrap my head around it. But I was standing at my kitchen sink and I look out my window and we are surrounded by woods. I'm just stuck right in the middle of woods. And I see this figure and it is um, a dark auburn red, okay? And all I saw of it was the upper shoulder. I saw the lower wrist, hand, and I saw the upper part of his hip. And there was no denying it. But the rest of it was closed. So, and he was right at the edge of the woods and he was walking. He was not standing still. He was walking and he was walking away from the house. And, don't want to bring that up and talk too much about that. But, the more you're into this, there is woo involved in this. I just firmly believe that they're not just big dumb apes walking around in the forest. I had another incident to where I'd gone out on my screened-in porch. It was morning time, drinking my coffee, and I heard three clicks. It sounded like rocks clicking together. Three sets of those clicks, and I started looking out into the woods, and I look up into the trees, and here again, here's this woo factor, the predator effect. There was something up in this tree. And I walked out my screened in porch onto my patio and I looked at this thing from all angles without getting too close to it. And I just went back inside. I didn't feel threatened, but I couldn't explain it. And that happened really before I heard about that predator effect. So I didn't know what it was. But, again,
Right.
hindsight's 2020.
That's why I believe that instead of the Gigantopithecus story, I believe that they come from the Nephilim because they have that human intelligence, I believe, and their troubleshooting and their thinking abilities and their even their hunting abilities and things like that are far superior than what your wild animals in the woods would be, or how they would hunt, or how they move about.
There's
Even
strategy to it. There's thought
yes,
process to it.
yes, even how they make
That
this.
is not a normal animal.
Right.
Yes, wolves, they hunt in packs, and but this is a different level, on my opinion.
Yes, and even the structures that they make, their houses, and some Native Americans say that they still use tools. And I read something the other day, and I thought it was
Fire, I've heard fire also.
yes, yes. Some of the chiefs that I've spoke with, they said that they use what they call Dakota fires, and
Hmm.
I read something the other day, and I thought it was really, really interesting, and I really wanted to share this with everybody. They're finding old native tools, arrowheads, fletching, rocks, stuff like that. And they're saying that the ones they're finding are not dating back to where that was happening. They're actually newly made. And they were first saying that they were people, you know, throwing them out in creeks and stuff, and doing it as a, trying to trick people or, but then they got to thinking a lot of these are found in places where people's really not at. So what I got to thinking was maybe it's because these creatures are still using these tools.
Right. Well, and so many people on different accounts say that I couldn't shoot it. It looked too human. It looked Native American. Well, if they traded and corresponded with the natives in these different areas, why wouldn't they pick up those skills?
right? And I think they would because the Native Americans even called them the secret tribe. They didn't call them monkeys or
Right.
animals. They called them the shy people.
Mm-hmm.
And even whenever they ate their own, ate the natives' children's, they didn't say oh, the animals ate our children. They said they were cannibals, which
Now,
tells me
do you think that would be more maybe the Gugway, the face eaters that was doing that rather than the Save?
I'm in conversations right now with some chiefs, and it's going to be two different tribes I'm speaking with, and they're both chiefs, and they're telling me, and this is what they're saying. I'm not saying it's what I believe right now, but it is something that I have, in consideration because I believe, to listen to everything. They say Dogman, Bigfoot, the Googway, all of those are the same. They're just the way he explained it was you have a little pug faced bulldog. He said they're small, they don't have a snout, they're not as mean maybe. And then you have the larger, Dobermans like the picture you have that, have the snout, that have the big pointed
Right.
ears. And he said they're all the same, just different regions, different sizes, different colors. And he said, not all animals are the same. And I'm still learning from it. We're still talking about it. But the Googway and the Girl Scout murders, that is what the locals up there say was around Camp Scott when that happened. They say it was a Googway, that it wasn't, but if you even say Dogman up there, man, I got chewed out. They told me, oh, don't say Dogman. That's a white man's name for it. There's Googway Sasquatch, and they're real picky on how you talk, but it's their beliefs, and I respect that. I don't go up there to
Right.
to disrespect them. But
Well, I think with this new study, DNA study coming out with Melba Ketchum, she's got the Dogman DNA, and I think we're getting ready to find out real quick what exactly and how these things are related. If I feel strongly that they are.
but did you hear what Melba said the other night? Whenever they asked her, they said, "What do you think we're going to find on the Googway, the Dogman, and Sasquatch?" And she straight out said, we can't prove they come from, the Nephilim." She said, but that's what she believes. But she said, "I
Hmm.
do believe the DNA is going to prove that they're all related."
Yeah,
And if it comes back they're all related, then the natives are already telling us the truth already. They
the
already know.
truth. Right, right.
But they
I
they
I just
they lived with them. They traded with them.
right, and that was brought down through generations. Those stories.
Right. I think that like whenever I was at work investigating things, even if it's something that you don't believe happened, if it's still plausible and possible that it did, it's better to always explore that avenue to make sure that you don't leave nothing, unlooked at.
Absolutely. Right.
Because
You see,
we don't want to
Cynthia.
miss, yeah, we don't want to miss the truth, of course. And
Absolutely.
that's what it, there's channels out there right now that are mad at me because I won't follow their beliefs. And like I told them, I didn't come on here to follow beliefs or become popular. I want to find the truth. And if that means I have to go against everyone and, question them, then that's what I'll do. Uh, I done it for 11 years in a court, done it at my job. And that's the only way you're going to find answers is to go against the grain, because if you follow everybody, out of all the years this stuff has been researched, and as long as it's been researched, they haven't found any definitive answers. So that tells me
Exactly.
that
Where are they at? Where are they at? They're no better than how many times can you review Patty? The
Right.
film. How many times can you break it down? Until these researchers or so-called researchers get out of that box and, dig a little deeper. And, a lot of them, they won't go the biblical way. I'm a Christian. That's the route I go. And if you believe in heaven, hell, angels, demons, you know, how supernatural is our Bible?
Right.
It's very supernatural, and there are things in this world that we just scratch our head at. But I'm a believer. I'm very open minded. Um, that's just and I'm a no. I have to know. I just want to know, and that's why I was so drawn to your channel when I first heard your interview on Bettina's
Oh
channel,
yeah.
and it's like, yeah, this is a guy I want to follow.
Yeah, was a great show. She was a good show to be on. I enjoyed being on Bettina's show. She tries really really hard. Uh, the way I do this, and I've told everybody this, I look at Bigfoot like I do at any crime that ever came across my desk that I investigated. I follow the same set of rules. I, try to. Now we don't have as much, proof. We have to use a lot of speculation, but I try to get as much proof as I can, and then try to prepare it like you're going to go to court. Because if we follow everybody else's, and there's a ton of sites out there that are doing the same thing that aren't finding the answer, then that's not going the right way. We need to go another way. Um, because if we all go the same way, that's like saying, if your brother jumps off a bridge, are you going to jump off one too? Um, maybe I'm going to walk down and around to see what's at the bottom. Uh, it just, to me, it doesn't make sense to chase something in a direction that we have for years that's not producing any evidence.
Absolutely. And, and that's why I really hope, Melba, she got dragged through the mud. Oh my gosh, she was destroyed. And with her doing this new DNA study, I I hope it goes through. I really do. I mean, I don't know how public it will go,
Right.
other than people like us that are into this. But I don't know that I do really believe the government will not allow it.
And if it does happen, there'll something that will come out to try to discredit her, the laboratory, the handling of the evidence, or something
Yes, all
like
of
that.
that.
Yeah, something will happen, and it's sad that that happens. But if you look all the way back at all the high class cases, all those people were either threatened, paid off, or it didn't happen, or some of them disappeared.
Right.
So you know I think it's I think that the way I'm planning on going, I don't know. I may end up being what I say in one of my videos. I may end up being something's dinner, but I'm just hard enough headed that I want to. I want to find the truth to what these are. They was at my granny's all them years, and I lived with them, and even as a kid, I would always say, "Why are they here? What are they doing here?" And me and my cousins would all say, "Why do they have to come here?" And on a rainy night, it didn't matter how hard it rained. That would always be the worst night. Always. It. I don't know why, but that was always the worst night.
Well, I've heard a theory on that. When the weather is bad, that there's something about the tracks, and they could cover up the tracks better, or yeah, who knows? Maybe it's the electrical charge in the air. Say if it's a thunderstorm that gets them riled up
Yeah, because
because of their frequency.
packs of wolves and dogs. They say that they will hunt before a storm.
Yeah.
That's it's just yeah. And I had a person ask me the other day. They said, "What was the largest footprint that was ever found at my granny's house?" And I got that in my book, but I'll go ahead and tell y'all. The largest footprint they ever found at my granny's house was a barefooted footprint that was 22 inches long and 9.25 inches wide.
Wow, that is huge.
Yeah, it was
That is
22 long
huge.
and 9.25 inches wide.
Well, I sent you that picture of my foot up against the one that I
Yes,
took a picture of. And and I can show people the structures that I have, and they're like, oh, yeah, whatever. But when I show them that footprint, it shuts them up.
right. Oh yeah, yeah. It's hard to argue proof. Uh,
Right.
let's see.
And,
And you know,
getting back to their intelligence,
uh,
some of the structures that I have on my property, I will just stand there and just say, what are you doing? I mean, little twigs woven within little twigs, just almost netted like, and how they'll pull another separate limb over in and wind it into that structure. The structures fascinate me. It's like, what is the purpose? What is the
right.
meaning?
And yeah, because you had what little X's on a tree at your house or something.
Well, I had this path that we had cut down to a valley down below our house, for my horses to graze down down in the valley area. And it had probably been, now we had cut this path probably 10 years ago. And my husband would take his tractor up and down it. So it was kept fairly clear, okay? And it had been about a year since I'd been down that path. And it was in the wintertime. I love to walk in the woods in the wintertime. You don't have to deal with the snakes or the ticks. And so I started off down towards that valley on that. I would call it more of a road than a path because you can get a tractor up and down. And here are these trees crossed. I mean, these are big trees. They are not saplings. They are big trees. And in two different spots, they are crisscrossed in that pathway. And I looked at these trees and I'm like, these have been drugged here or carried here. They did not fall here. And in two different spots, they were there. And at this point, I just asked him, I'm like, because I had heard that crisscrosses on the ground means welcome. And I said, okay, I guess this is my big welcome. I'm coming down. And so I went on down to the valley. But yeah, and another time when I was first getting into this, my best friend and I were out, and again, it was like January, February, and we were out, out around our lake area, up by where our dam is. And there was an old county road from years ago that cut through there. And of course, it's closed off now after they built the lake. And it's right at the mouth of the dam and where our river, Sac River, they release the water into Sac River. Beautiful wooded area up there. And we were up there walking and, just nature walking. I wasn't looking for Sasquatch or any signs or anything like that. And my girlfriend's up ahead of me and I stopped to take a picture of her. And I'm like, stop. And she turns around and looks at me and I'm like, look what you're standing by. And it was a tree that had been pulled up by the roots and it was shoved down into the ground and the roots were sticking up in the air, and they had taken other smaller saplings and pulled them, that whole arch thing again, they arched them into that structure.
You know,
And it was probably, go ahead.
no, go ahead. There's just a little bit of a delay. I didn't mean to walk on you.
No, that's okay. And it was probably, I would say, and that was always in the back of my mind. I'm like, okay, so we've got some activity up here. And that was clearly uh, stay the heck out of my area, sign, I felt like. So we just kind of sauntered on out. And, that was always in the back of my mind. And I drive that highway every day, right by the entrance of that road where that structure was. And in fact, you could see it from the highway. And it was one night, We had dinner in town. We kind of had a girls' night out, and I was driving home alone by myself. And it was just habit that I would look over that way. After you cross the bridge, I would just look over. And about 10 foot, I would guesstimate because it was dark, but it was up there. It was about 10 foot up in the air. There were these two glowing, I'm going to call them eyes because I believe in my heart of hearts that's what it was. They were about the size of uh, a pop can. They appeared to be about that size, and they were omitting light. It was not eye shine. They were omitting light. And I just kind of giggled to myself, and I'm like, well, there you are. And I've, I've, I've been told by a woman that I got in contact with because I wanted some answers. And she has a relationship with the Sabe, and mind speaks with them. And she said that they like to watch me and that I am the keeper of their food. And they have gifted me dead animals, bless their heart. They will bring dead animals up on my steps. I had one specific area that I thought, okay, I'm going to try this. I was just getting into this stupid, this whole gifting thing. And I'm like, I'm going to try this and just see what happens. And I picked this specific tree down on a creek, and it had a knot in it that had a hole, right? And this marble fit perfectly down into this hole. It could not fall out. It was down in there, right? And about 2 weeks later, I went down there, and it was gone. It was gone. And there lays a deer leg by the tree. And she flat out, without me even mentioning this to her, she tells me exactly what happened. And oh, they gifted you a deer leg, didn't they? I'm like, yeah, they did, and a rib cage also. And it was just very interesting talking to her because she validated so many things that were happening on my place. And one of the strangest things. Now this is way woo here, guys. But I was laying in bed one night and I was praying, and I'm just like, man, Lord, show me what these things are because I just felt that strong connection. Are they Nephilim? What's going on here? And I love to sleep with my window open, just to hear the night sounds.
Oh,
And I had just closed my eyes, and in my head, this booming voice, because I had asked, "What are you?" Right? It says, "I am the Father's son." In my head. And I mean to tell you, I jump up out of that bed, and I still shake whenever I tell this because I've never had anything ever like that happen in my life. And so the people that hear that mind speak, I totally believe it because I had it happen to me, and it scared me to death. And I don't allow that. Whether they've tried to reach out, this one particular woman that I was speaking with, she said they try to mind speak with you, and it's like, yeah, and I don't let them. I don't want to go down that path. Um, but I have a kennel, and I raise Rottweilers. And one night, I was out on the front porch, and I see eye shine. And I'm like, what? I am spooky at night. I am spooky. I was ready to hit the door and run back inside, but it comes running up to me, and it's one of my female Rottweilers. And I'm like, how on earth did you get out? Because my kennel is very secure, very secure. I have clips on my doors to where they can't accidentally get, knocked up and opened by them jumping up on it. But she was out. And I went around to the outer part. I have an indoor run and an outdoor. And I went around to that outdoor run, and that clip had been taken off that door and laid down on the concrete, and that door was open. And this one particular female that I had, none of the other ones ever had this residue on them, but it looked like you rolled her in baby powder. That's what it looked like. And I even tried to switch it up. I would put her in a different kennel, thinking, okay, is it something in the concrete? what's going on here? Where's this coming from? It always happened to her. And I was cleaning her outside kennel one day, and I happened to look up, and on the outside of my kennel was this handprint. I don't know how big this thing was, but I put my hand in the inside of it. I bet you could have put three of my hands on the inside of that. And I even mentioned it to my husband. I asked him, I'm like, were you on the outside of this? And I brought him around and I showed it to him, and he goes, I can't explain that. I don't know what that is. So, that kind of spooked me. And it was in this one particular dog's kennel, that always showed up with the white residue and the powder. And well, I had taken a trip to Colorado that summer, and I had gotten a piece of granite, really beautiful rock, right? And I thought, I'm just going to try something and see if this works. And I set that rock by her kennel, on the outside, and kind of just put it out there. Hey, this is for you guys, right? And come back in a couple of days. And it, like I told you earlier, Mike, it might have even been gone before I noticed that it was gone. But I look down, it's gone, and here is a buckeye sitting there. So just weird stuff like that.
I've been studying. A lot of people have been talking about going back to the mind speak, and some people got confused and thought that I didn't believe in the mind speak. No, I believe the mind speak happens. I believe that the mind speaking though is not coming from the flesh and blood cryptid. I believe, my theory is the Nephilim blood, and I believe
Hmm.
by carrying that blood that there is a connection between them and the fallen, which are the demons.
The
And
familiar
whenever
spirits.
yes, a familiar spirit is following
Hmm.
possibly these cryptids, and then you're encountering both. And and the story you told me kind of resonated with me and made sense because I've been throwing this theory around, and then you told me a story the other night that really helped me with my theory that showed me that there is a connection of the demons to the cryptids that are being carried over to us. And you told me a story about your house, and I'm going to let you tell the story, but about a certain gentleman that you've seen there. That
Oh, yes.
so that story
Yes.
really helped me because that showed me there is two different things going on at your house. There's a physical and there's a spiritual, but they're separate.
Right. Right. And yeah, like I told you when we first talked, Mike, I have a pretty good sense about walking into or meeting people or walking into an area and feeling that good vibe or that bad vibe. And so we bought this house about 17 years ago, and I felt nothing. It's like, man, I'm going to die in this house. I love this house, and all's good. Well, I called it my Brady Bunch house because it was so dated. I mean, shag carpet, you name it. But it had good bones, and I had a vision. So we went in and totally gutted this house, gutted it. It's just like brand new. And so and when we bought this house, we were told by the owners that sold it to us that we had the oldest cemetery in this county on our property. They didn't know where it was because they were elderly and they hadn't gotten out on the land and, really looked for it. Well, we had been clearing some land and we found it. And really neat. I mean, there's about, I think, 13 grave sites there, but only one of them has an actual headstone with a saying on it. And it has the gentleman's name. His name was Seth Jennings, and he was born in the 1700s. And he died right around the Civil War area. And the other graves only have just a simple, stone for the head and for the foot. And my brother-in-law, he knows a lot of history of our county around here, and he really seems to think that maybe it might have been uh, from a Civil War skirmish, and this was the closest cemetery that they knew of, so they possibly brought the soldiers and buried them here in this cemetery. But anyway, I had there's quite a bit leading up to this, but I had was sitting in my house one night, and I had my Siamese cat sitting on the arm of my chair, and she starts darting her head around, looking, zipping around, and I just took out my phone and just started videotaping. And I started catching orbs. These orbs were going in and out of the wall. They were shooting up out of the floor. You could catch them going down a hallway, make a direct turn. They were not bugs, right? They were orbs. And I got to where the hair on the back of my neck would stand up, and I'm like, okay, start videotaping. Here we go. I could just feel their presence. And I could freeze frame some of these orbs, and you could actually see faces in these orbs. And um, I was laying in bed one night, and um, had to go to the bathroom. Didn't want to. Got up because I had this feeling. There was just this dread. I felt this dread, and went to go use the restroom, and I could feel this energy up in my face, and it was anger. I could just feel anger, ice cold. I started shaking uncontrollably. I mean, I finished my business and I ran to my bed, jumped in it, got about as up close to my husband as I possibly could. I closed my eyes. I turned to the left, opened my eyes. Here is standing a Civil War soldier, and he's angry, very angry. He's not angry at me. I could feel that, but he is saying in my head, I didn't hear it audibly, but he's saying, why did they do this to me? Why did they do this to me? And I just told him, I can't help you. I can't help you. And he just dissipated. And that room was ice cold. And it got to where I was hearing voices. No one in the house, muffled voices. And it sounded like it was coming from like the outside of the house, numerous voices. But it was just muffled. And I heard that on two different occasions. And here I am telling my husband and my son this, and they're like, okay, mom's gone off the deep end. She's nuts. And I'm like, I'm telling you. And we happened to go to a neighboring town. My nephew was in like a motocross dirt bike and wanted to go see him. And my husband or my son was, I think he was 14 or 15 at that time. And so we just left him at home. And he calls me while we're at this event, and he's like, Mom, you're not crazy. I hear the voices. And I said, you rebuke it in the name of Jesus right now, and you tell them to leave and get out of here. He did it. They left. It stopped. And, after that Civil War thing, it's like, I've had enough, and I was sitting down in the basement one evening. Now, this is really cool. And I get the goosebumps. So I start videotaping. And from my ceiling, this rod, it looked to be probably a foot and a half long, and it's this glowing rod, and it comes down from the ceiling, and it goes about 3/4 to the floor, and then it starts floating back up, and then it just explodes, and all of these orbs are just zipping all over the room. And I got that videotaped. And after that Civil War incident with that experience, I'm like, I've had enough. And I mean, I went through my house, I prayed, I rebuked, I went to all four corners of my land, and it stopped. I have not had any activity in the house since then.
Right. So have you noticed that whenever the Bigfoot, Sasquatch are not close to your house, is the supernatural part also less?
You know, I have not put those two together. I don't know if they're intertwined, Mike, or if it's a separate. And Scott Carpenter, he's a big believer in rebuke them, and it's worked in a lot of cases. But then I've heard of cases to where it has not worked. So what do you do with that?
Right. The uh, the root ball you was talking about, red dirt cryptids. Brian, I talked to him. They were out on a an investigation down here in my area. I actually went and was invited to their camp. It was an awesome camp. They're a very friendly bunch. They found a full size tree pulled out of the ground with the root ball. The root ball was placed up, the tree was upside down with the root ball at least 30 feet up into the tree. I'm not going to share the photo in case they're wanting to share it. It was their investigation, and I won't step on other people's toes. So, if maybe y'all want to see it, you can get in touch with them and they can show it to you. I just don't feel right doing that. That's their investigation, and I won't do that. But they have a really awesome picture if y'all would like to get in touch with them and see it.
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating. And I've heard it on several different podcasts, but I think it was Duke from World Bigfoot had said that that was a major stay out sign.
They found a huge one down here, right where I investigate. So I don't, I don't
Okay,
know.
Mike, that means stay out.
To me, it says, "Come and see what I am."
Yeah, to you.
And what happened with your orchard?
Yes. Okay.
You
So
haven't,
I
you haven't,
have about,
you haven't
yes,
enjoyed it.
I have like, I have not. I have not. I have five, let's see, I have a peach tree, I have three apple trees, and I have a pear tree. And every time, you guys, I am not kidding, you're just about ready to pick the fruit. It's like, all right, here we go. You go out the next day, there is no fruit on that tree. Now, you tell me a squirrel or a coon's doing that? I don't think so.
So you haven't got anything from the orchard.
Nope, no, we haven't. And I'm really surprised as far as because I have chickens, right? I've got that kennel, I've got dog food. I've never had any trouble with that. They've never hurt any of my animals. I asked them not to. I mean, I have gone to the edge of the woods and told them or asked them, please do not hurt any of my animals. They've never stolen any like feed, dog food, chicken food, never killed any of my chickens, but they will not let me have my fruit.
They, I have another lady that lives close to me, and she's having the same thing happen. She says she never gets an apple. She said they always take my apples, and she
Yeah,
has pears, pears, and she said they take her pears too.
yes. And my pear tree produces so many pears. It's just
Right.
how do they all disappear overnight? You just well, I know how, but well, like another time, I was telling you, I had my best friend and I had rented a cabin down on our river, and we love to fish, and there's great fishing holes down there. So we had bought some minnows, put them in one of those, styrofoam, white styrofoam minnow buckets where you can put the lid on real tight. And we had sat them outside the cabin and woke up the next morning and I'm sitting there just enjoying the beautiful weather and listening to the water. And I thought, I better check these minnows, see if I need to put some more water in it, right?
Right.
Not, and mind you, there were probably 24 minnows left in there overnight. There was not water, there was not minnows, and that lid was put back on tight. They were all gone.
Wow.
Yeah, and in the same area, we take our fifth wheel down and leave it the whole summer. Love to camp and kayak. And I'm one of those. I just like to sit out after the campground has, everybody's gone to bed. It's quiet. I just like to sit out and listen to the sounds. And one night I was
Right.
sitting there because I know they're around that area. I've seen signs of them down there. Um,
Right.
you hear the 800-pound owl across the river. And then another 800-pound owl on this side of the river answers. And then all of a sudden, I mean, you started hearing the monkey sounds, the whooping, and it was hilarious, Mike, to sit there in my chair and watched the tent campers across from me. I mean, lights started flipping on, flashlights were shining all over the place, and I just kind of sat there and giggled because they really put on a show that night. A lot of vocals.
There's been a lot of people say that they associate them, with hoot owl calls. And you had your garage door open one night, didn't you? And you heard something pretty eerie.
One night,
The
okay,
Yeah,
one
this is the
night,
one that gave me
one
goosebumps.
well, one night I had a litter of pups, and I had brought the 10 by 10 kennel into my garage, and because with those Rottweilers, I mean, they're like an old sow. They'll lay down on a pup and smother them and not even get up. So I sleep with them for 2 weeks in the kennel with them, and you get very little sleep, checking on them. I was laying there one night, and we have a dog door that goes in and out of our garage, and that thing flipped, and I woke up right when it flipped, and I heard something running off, and it was bipedal.
And then it made like a crying sound, right?
Yes.
The crying is what really got me.
Oh, just just creepy. And you've heard that. You've heard that too.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've heard the crying, the laughing, the talking.
Oh,
Yes.
just no. Yeah, I've
And
not heard the laughing. We talked about that earlier. I've not heard the laughing, but that crying, just that it's so high pitched and just it's so creepy. So creepy.
the crying bothered me when I heard it, but man, whenever it started, the crying was bad, but whenever it started, like I don't know, like sounding like a little baby, that
Hmm.
really bothered me that night.
Well, do you think it possibly could have been one of their young?
I thought that night that was probably luring me.
You just had that feeling.
Yeah, I felt like it was trying to get me to come closer to it.
Hmm.
Um, that was the feeling that I had. Like it was, and I just had that voice in my head saying, "Don't go, don't do that." And as me and Calvin, Cal, I'm calling him Calvin. He's going to kick me in the butt because he likes to be called Cal. Cal has been on me this week because I uh, I tend to push the boundary a little bit, and I like to go and see what is there. And I have a point that I will leave, but he thinks that my leaving point is maybe too far. And Brooks, she says calling you to come and see, and I do believe that, Brooks. I believe that's probably what was going on, is it was trying to get me over there, and then I probably would have ended up like the hogs I found down there, just gutted and left out.
Now, when you say it, do you think you were dealing with a Sasquatch or Dogman?
I want to give you all. Okay, I haven't shared this really. I've shared it, but I haven't shared it. So tonight is the first time that I want to share this really with anybody.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. There is a werewolf. I call it down there. Some people call them dogmen. I pretty much classify them same group. Googway, Sasquatch, all that. It's down there, but there is something else, and it's not the green reptilian thing I've seen. This other thing that I've been dealing with is tall. It's slender. It has really long arms that are slender. It walks with a hunched over back, like it has a bad back. It every time me and mom and everybody has seen it, it walks with a hunched over back. It mimics certain animals, dogs, cats, cows, kittens. It sounded like a baby one night. It throws little sticks and little pebbles up at the kids when we're down there at night. It's really interested in the kids. Um, it is what when I pulled my gun on it one night and told it, that I was going to shoot it because it was coming at me and my mom and my family, and it had already been throwing rocks at us and sticks, large enough sticks to hurt us, and it let out the most evil laugh I'd ever heard. But it did turn around and leave, and I haven't seen it well enough to be able to say it's a dog man or it's a Bigfoot. You know, um, I do know that it's I want to the reptilian thing that I seen in the fork of the tree had the most. Oh, it looked more like this creature as far as the body, skinny, tall, kind of bent over, humanish looking. It didn't have the snout and all, but I measured where it looked through the fork of the tree at me and my mom, my brother-in-law, and my sister, and it would have been somewhere in the height of 7 foot 4 inches. uh, Whatever this thing is, I believe, and it could be a wolf man, it could be a dog man. I just haven't been close enough to tell, but it moves differently, it looks differently, it walks hunched over. To me, it's something else, but it always feels more sinister. Like whatever this thing is, it's what tried to get in the door of my truck that night we left. It ran up, hit the side of my door. You heard the door thing go in where it tried to open it, and it jerked on my door twice and jerked the truck. And I had my mom and kids inside the truck. Whatever this is, it wasn't afraid to attack a moving vehicle. It tried to get in. To me, is very sinister, and I'm not sure exactly what this thing is right now. I know where it's at. I've encountered it in the same place several times, and it is the place that I'm going to do the solo overnight. Yes, Cal, that's where I'm going. And hopefully I'll get more answers to what this is. I think it's something different. I really do.
Well, you've got some big kahunas. That's all I've got to say.
It's either
Now,
that or a small brain. Yeah.
well, now going back to this rebuking, did you ever think at that time to possibly try that
I've
on
done
this
it many times.
creature?
Yes, I've done it many times. At my grandma's house, my granny's, I call her grandma, at my granny's, these things would happen, and she understood that there was different things. She would say, Bigfoot's outside. There is other things out there, and there was also supernatural things that happened at her house. Now, the supernatural, we was all brought up Christian, and we would tell them, "Leave us alone in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ." Okay, all of the supernatural stuff would stop, but the physical things never did stop, which is what I've put into my investigations now, and that's why I believe you're dealing with two separate entities. You have a demon following a cryptid with the Nephilim blood, and that's the connection. Because whenever you would use the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, it would stop. It would definitely would stop. But the physical outside, the ones that were eating the animals, leaving the footprints, beating on the house, the physical beings, they didn't stop. So to me, that told me there had to be a difference.
And I remember you saying that you thought that they were probably more attracted to your mom, almost like your mom drew them in. Did your mom had have any uh, special abilities?
No, no, my family
No,
didn't. We didn't believe in that or allow that.
right.
We was always brought up that it was necromancy and and fortune telling and all that. It was sinful. So we prayed and we didn't allow that. None of us ever had any mind speaking or anything happen. Now, the only reason that we can believe or think or theorize that it may have been more interested in my mom is because at the age of 13, she ran up on it and was about a foot from it, and they actually looked eye to eye to each other. And she describes it. She says, now not exactly because she's very particular because she's seen it, but she said the closest that she could describe it is it looked like the werewolf on Silver Bullet, not the full werewolf, But in between the werewolf and the preacher, when it was changing with the snout, she said somewhat, not exactly. And
Hmm.
ever since that happened, it was after her from day one. Followed her to the barn. It would chase her in the tall weeds. She'd stop running, it would stop running. She'd start running, it would start running. And it would always stop at the tree line. It would always stop at the grass line. And that's where, I got into the conversation with one of the Cherokee chiefs the other day up where I'm doing this other investigation. And he said they don't stop at the tree line or the grass line because of any kind of magic or, any kind of spiritual reason. He said they stopped because whenever they started eating the native children, the natives started trading for guns. And whenever the natives started getting guns, he said we was able to kill them in the open. These creatures learned that in the open, they were at a big disadvantage. They were getting shot and killed. They were buying guns off the Buffalo soldiers, which were 45 110s, 45 70, something like that. And they were being killed in the wide open. So they learned that in the trees they were safer. And he said that's why, Gugwe, Sasquatch live in the trees is because they were pushed into the trees. And he has great stories. And a lot of his stories they make sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
It was just he says that's why they're in the trees. And as far as mom, the only thing I can figure is maybe when she ran up on it that night, maybe, and this is a big maybe. I'm totally theorizing on this, but maybe it imprinted on her that night.
You hear of a lot of cases like that, to where if you run into one, it seems like you run into 50 after that.
Oh yeah. And Renee says everybody be scared silly if one comes up close and screams. I got a funny story for you, Renee. My cousin, he went outside one night and was going to see what it was. He was a big boy, and it screamed at him and scared him so bad that it took him like 3 tries to open the door to come back in. Uh, Whenever you're that close to one and they scream, it will, I don't know if a lot of y'all's ever been out, and a screech owl scream when you're fishing. I mean, that's bad enough, but for one of these to be that close and scream, that would be terrifying.
I've heard the whoops. I've never heard them scream.
Right. I go down in the woods a lot, and a lot of people say, how come you don't have more, boots on the ground? Well, I do a lot of boots on the ground, but I don't always get, stuff doesn't always happen. I wish it did, but it don't. And I'm not just going to throw anything on there. If I don't get a good video, I don't put a video out on boots on the ground. But we're doing a lot more boots on the ground. We're going deeper. Like I said, I got a solo camp I'm wanting to do, and I'm pretty sure that's probably going to get some good results. However you look as good results, whatever that would be.
Well, you need to start taking bacon with you and frying it. I hear that works.
Yeah, I've been looking for bait, but it's hard to get anybody to volunteer. It don't work very good. Cal has, if you listen to the podcast I done with Cal is another prime example to why I believe the the flesh and blood are followed by the demons. Cal went to a person's house to help them. They encountered black looking wolves, creatures, cryptids, and following these cryptids was a demon that followed one of his team members home. When after one of his team members' children, they ended up having to get a preacher to get rid of it, and that team member has now quit his team over that whole experience. He lost a team member.
Like, I can't say that I blame him.
Right. So he's doing another hunt this weekend, I believe. Yeah, he's doing another one this weekend. So
Now, what are your thoughts, Mike, as far as, it just seems like the sightings and everything has just escalated so. Um, I personally feel like possibly the veil is thinning.
I think that I think it's probably we have better communication now, uh, better technology at sharing information. Um, I don't know so much about the veil thinning. I've read about that, and there are some things that would make me think that way, and then others that kind of I'm not sure. The one thing that really bothers me, I'm glad you brought that up too, is there's a lot of people on these channels that are talking about the cryptids with the spirits, and they're leading people the wrong way. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I know the truth and that I'm going to preach to you and everything, but I am going to tell you that there are some people out there that I've taught, or have caught not being truthful and misleading on the Bible, and that's very dangerous. One was saying Jesus was in Japan. Okay, there is literature that Jesus was in Japan, but if you dig and dig and dig into that, there is two things that make that not a true statement. But a lot of people in the live was believing it because they believe him. So look this stuff up for yourselves, guys. But one of the things that's wrong about that is Jesus is buried there. Jesus isn't in the grave, so he would not be there. Number two is the person that wrote the story about Jesus being in Japan was well known for writing fiction books. And people in that area during the time that they say Jesus was there were not Christians and had never heard of him. So be careful where you get your information, guys, that you're not misled by somebody looking for views. Look it up yourselves. Question everybody. Question everything. That's that's just my opinion, my advice.
I agree with you 100%.
I just think it's very dangerous whenever we start mixing God's word with other paganistic thoughts and ideas. And I'll leave it at that because I could go all night on that.
Oh no, I know. We could get real preachy real quick.
Yeah, yeah, and I don't want to do that. I wish that you. I missed somebody's. I seen a question. Let me see if I find. Oh, oh no. I don't know if that's good or not. Scared Silly said, "I wish that you would put up all your videos because I see so much in the background." All my videos should be up if you go on my YouTube page. You should be able to access all my videos. I even made some playlists that everybody wanted me to do. Yes, and CERN. Who could not CERN? That is such an evil machine.
Absolutely. And if you do a study on that, where it's placed, why it was placed there, it's, yeah. And Shiva out front and their satanic
Well,
rituals. And I think
it's the
this is
place.
all intertwined, Mike. I think so much of it is intertwined. When you go down one rabbit hole, say with the cryptids, well, then you got the ETs thrown in there. And then, you know, government conspiracies and it, it just never stops. I just feel like uh, there's a demonic force. We know who the king of this world is, and he's out there to take us down.
Well, he lives in the same city as CERN.
Yeah.
The Bible itself said that's where he dwells.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Um, that's why I just want everybody to be careful of what you hear. There's a lot of them out there. Buy my CD, buy my CD, buy my CD. The answer is there. I
Right.
looked at that. I looked at that CD, and my opinion, to save myself, it is fictitious. It's false. It's deceiving. Be careful. Uh, I've been thinking about doing the book, and I've had some people ask me about my book. Could you just record it on a DVD and sell it that way? And I don't know if that would be the right way to do it or not. I don't know if y'all would rather have a book or a CD, but a lot of people seem to want a CD. And I don't know. I haven't even got the book written yet. It's so much going on right now.
And you can do the audio books too. I love those because with my job, I just stick my earbuds in, and because I don't really have time to sit down and read a book. Usually
Right.
when I sit down, that's when it's over and it's time for bed. But audio is a great way to go too. And I can't wait for that book to come out.
I may have to look into the audio part. I don't know anything about even writing a book, so I mean, I don't even know how I'm going to get it out there. To be honest, why do they go to the extreme of hiding themselves and keeping themselves hidden? Well, I think that they're, if you're talking about cryptids, Joel, I think that they're knowledgeable enough to know that if enough people know that they're out there, and not just a small percentage of the population, that the government's hand would be forced to do something and they would be hunted down. I think that, and I believe that they're knowledgeable enough that they know this.
Do you think that they would be hunted down by the government or protected?
I think they would probably be hunted down and then placed in what was left would be like zoos, just because of liability issues. Because the government, if not, would be held to such a high liability that they would be afraid of getting sued. I believe. I think that's why
Right.
they hide it now is liability. It all follow the money. I, even if they came out and said, "Hey, we got werewolves in our national parks, and if you all go camping there, there's a chance they may eat you and your family." People are going to stop going to national parks, and they're going to start losing money. So they're not going to lose money. You know what I mean? They're going to be like,
Right.
if we lose 100
Well, did
people out of 100,000 visitors, we can live with that.
those are pretty good odds, right?
Yeah,
Did you hear about the woman out in California that actually sued California over Bigfoot?
yeah. I done a video on it actually. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was bad what they made her do though. They wouldn't let her enter it into court because of the words that she was using. She wouldn't change it. They wanted her not to use a cryptid name
right.
because if she did that, then they would be obligated to either be liable for it or have to face it and say, "Oh, it's really out there." They don't want that.
Now, was it Oklahoma that actually was wanting to open a season on them and sell
Maybe
tags?
they have. There is a amount of money offered for the body of one.
Well, we've already got a body.
Yeah,
They've got numerous bodies.
JD Smooth. JD. Honestly, if I was going to say that tall thing that's bent over the way it is, I would honestly have to probably say it was the lizard man the way it looks. I just don't want to go out and say not knowing, but I honestly think that's probably what it is. I would give it a high probability. That would be my guess. Yeah. And Lenita Bryant said, "Who is the guest?" The guest is Michele,
And to answer Cynthia from earlier, I live in Missouri,
Missouri. Show me
where
state.
Momo's at.
Oh, Momo. I've read a lot about him.
Uh-huh.
Joel says, "I do tend to agree with Calvin and Mike. What is the deal with the blurry pictures? I kind of put that in the same class as not wanting to be seen in a least clearly." Well, I spoke to a guy about that, and he told me taking pictures in the woods is hard, anyways, because there are so many different things in the woods that the camera's focusing on. Things that are close, far away, medium distance, movement, leaves, colors, all that. And it's trying to focus everything. And he said it's really hard for a camera to do that.
But then you'll hear other people say it's all about their frequency.
Oh, yes, frequency, translucent hairs, you know, they can cloak. To me, I think that they're just great hiders and masters of their domain.
Right. And back to the DNA study, I found it so fascinating that the hair itself, they were not able to extract any DNA. It did not carry DNA. That's why they had to have the root.
You know what I would my theory on that would be, because they say that the fallen were part of this. An angel wouldn't have need to have DNA because in heaven they don't reproduce. God is the only one that can give life.
Absolutely.
So what if the part that doesn't have the DNA is part of them? And then the reason the root has the DNA is because the root is actually in the host and you're actually getting the DNA of the host. I don't know. It's
Makes
weird.
sense.
So it's a lot of speculation.
That's
I
what this whole thing is about, is speculation at this point.
it is. It's a lot of speculation. Dude from Texas. That's actually his name. He says they live underground. We see them when they come up out of the cave systems. I believe they do live in caves, holes,
Hmm.
uh, abandoned structures, hay barns, stuff like that.
And we've got a ton of caves in Missouri, all over.
Oh yeah, I watched a show where there's a guy living in caves in Missouri, and
You
they
know,
said Bigfoots are Nephilim. I agree. That's my theory.
yeah, in my younger years, I liked to spelunk, and we would hit caves all over Missouri. I would not do that for love or money now.
Right. I went in one cave in Missouri at Silver Dollar City. I went down in the what is it? The Marvel Cave, I think.
Yeah, I think it's marble. Yeah.
Yeah, I went down in it. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful cave.
Oh, it is. It's a really neat cave.
And Calvin says Kentucky's full of caves. I don't know if Calvin would fit in a cave down there. Calvin's a pretty big old boy. He might be the giant of Kentucky instead of the giant of Kandahar with dye his hair
Yeah,
red.
Calvin, I like your name. That was my daddy's name.
He's a good guy. He helps a lot of people.
Speaking of my daddy, he was a big coon hunter, mule trader. We did it all. And we were mule hunting one night, and it was down towards the river. And I was on this white mule. Her name was Snowball. And I mean, she was white. And we got down towards the bank, and this big tree in the upper part of it just started shaking like crazy. And that mule got spooked and took off across that field. And I like to never got her stopped. And once we got things all under control and everything, I think I was what, maybe 10 or 12, I can't remember. But um, my dad says, well, that was just a boogeyman.
Right.
You know, it's like, okay, who the heck is a boogerman? But
Right.
he, as much can happen. I wish he was alive now to where I could ask him, did you ever run into anything crazy? Of course we did that night. How do you explain a huge tree shaking like that? You know,
Yes.
uh,
Yes.
but I would
And
just really love to ask him if he ever had anything crazy happen.
and the dude from Texas has one of the best comments. I think is there are no experts when it comes to these cryptids. All we can do is come together for our best theories, and that's it. There is no experts.
Right. And listen to the people, listen to their experiences. And going back to this whole ghost thing, and the activity that I have in my house, you know, um, we as parents too, if your kid comes to you and says, Mom, I see a big hairy thing outside my window, or whatever the case may be, believe your kids, listen to them.
Yeah, because they're more than likely they're seeing something. I mean, there's something scaring them anyways, at the least.
Right. And that's another big part of why I've done so much research into this, and really fascinated with it is because, my family hunts and I want them to be aware of what's out there.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Well, we went a little over an hour, so I'm going to let people ask you questions if they have any questions before we shut it down. Usually we have some questions, so if anybody has any questions, try to put them in capital letters, and I'll try to find them. And uh, Michelle had some good encounters and stuff I thought tonight. And if you have any questions for her, just write them out, and I'll try to get them posted, and we'll try to ask her and see what she believes or has had happen. Had a pretty large turnout tonight, Michelle. It stayed
Good.
large. Yeah, it stayed large tonight too. Yeah, Wendy says, if my kid would ever have came to me and told me he saw something, I would believe him. That's good. Everybody's. I think we went pretty in depth, and then we got somebody going to send me a publisher. Okay, yeah, Denise, you can send me that information. Yeah, I'll look at it. All right, Michelle. Well, I think we must have went pretty well in depth. They didn't have a lot of questions. So I think what we're going to do is go ahead and end it tonight. I want to thank each and every one of you for showing up tonight and being part of this. I want to thank and especially all the new members that have joined the page and support and everything. I want to thank you all very much. If you haven't hit the like button, I'd ask that you hit the like button on the way out. It helps with the algorithm and shows YouTube that y'all like the content, and they'll keep pushing it. And leave a comment. And until next time, guys, keep your head on a swivel. Surely don't be something's dinner. And Michelle, I want to thank you for being on the show tonight. I really appreciated having you. And maybe
I
we can do.
appreciate it so much. I love
Maybe.
your show. You keep up the good work. Keep bringing the truth out.
Well, thank you very much. Maybe we can do it again sometime.
Yeah, and I love the abnormal family. Y'all take care.
All right. Thank you. All right, everybody. We'll see you next time.